What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. Last week, I made a video of kind of a frequently asked questions, answered them, and also asked you guys, would you guys be interested in me doing a kind of Q&A kind of series in the future? I got a pretty positive response to this, as well as quite a few questions. So today we're going to go through these questions, and I want to say if you have more questions for me in the future, I'll do more of these videos. I'm not going to promise them weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. I'll do them as I kind of get questions enough to fill up a video. So with that being said, I also wanted to apologize. I know I haven't been making as many videos as a lot of you guys are used to. I'm just going through a couple of things in my personal life that have kind of impeded my progress on YouTube a little bit, and that is my wife actually had wrist surgery last week, so she's recovering from that, and I'm also doing a remodel on my house, so that takes up a lot of my time. So it's not because I don't want to be doing YouTube or that it's not on my mind. It's just, you know, sometimes life gets in the way a little bit. So that stuff is actually going to be ending within about a week here, so probably after I'd say Thanksgiving, I'll probably be back on track. So just wanted to apologize and say that everything will be returning to normal really quickly here. So let's get started with the questions. The first couple are going to come from Twitter, and the first one's from @NovaGN1. Hey Briar, if you do another Q&A video, could you say how and why you became a photographer? This one is probably going to be a little bit boring to some of you and interesting to others, so I'll try and keep it pretty brief here. Photography came about 5 years ago into my life. It was just kind of a lark thing where I just wanted to have an excuse to go out into the wilds, take nice pictures, you know, have a destination for hiking and for mountain biking and even motorcycling. It just was an easy thing to do. So I decided to pick up a camera. I started taking some photos, and I got more and more serious as it went. I ended up meeting a professional photographer and started doing sports photography about 3 years ago, and that's been really fun. But it really started for me as just a small hobby, something really as an excuse to do other hobbies, if that makes sense, you know, a destination for motorcycling or hiking or whatnot. And then I actually started to enjoy the process of taking the pictures, the technology involved in the cameras, and that kind of thing, and I've kind of just built on that, and now it's really become I don't know if it's my secondary income or my primary income, but it's a pretty big part of how I make a living. So it's been a really rewarding process. Next up, Joe Mitchell @MattSplatter asks, thanks for being awesome. I love your Destiny vids and your streams. Just wondering, where did you come up with your name? So the name came from, well, I thought I made up the name, actually, to be honest with you. It came from the Quake 2, Quake 3 days when I used to be big into PC gaming. I wanted a kind of gamer tag or a name that kind of, had a nice ring to it. I came up with Briar Rabbit. I was kind of familiar with the stories of the Briar Rabbit or the Briar Rabbit, that he was kind of a trickster, he was kind of a scamp, and he often got himself stuck in bad situations. I felt that was a great description of a multiplayer, character. So I kind of just adopted the name. It's nice to have one name kind of for all your media stuff, whether it's Steam or Xbox or PSN. I kind of just kept that name and kept going forward with it. Later, I kind of researched it some more, and it actually comes from African lore, and the hair that the Briar Rabbit story comes from was actually from Africa, the African continent itself, and is of this kind of trickster spirit that takes the form of a hare. Now, I haven't done a ton of research on it, but I do like that it's kind of this old name, and I've kind of adapted it, and it's not the Briar Rabbit, it's the Briar Rabbit, but I've always kind of enjoyed the name, and I do get a lot of questions about where I actually came up with it, but I adapted it. All right, Reginald Knacker asks, what are your wants for Destiny 2 or even the upcoming DLCs they'll bring out if they do? Also, do you think that Destiny should drop the last-gen consoles by next September if they can improve on the graphical and overall dynamic in the game so they aren't restricted to lower it, just so last-gen has the same stuff as current? So I do think that they are going to kind of leave behind the 360 and the PS3 for Destiny 2 in September. it's hard to make that decision. They made that decision long ago. I'm positive of that. And I don't know if Activision and Bungie actually thought that at the beginning of the development of Destiny 2 that the PS4 and the Xbox One would be as successful as they are. Hopefully at this point they've already stopped production for the 360 and PS3 versions of the game if they were in production, so that they can move forward with the engine on the next-gen consoles. If not, I do feel bad for anybody who is on the 360 or PS3, but I would like to see the game move forward onto the next-gen consoles, because I'm sure there are a lot of things that can be done with the game that just aren't possible because they have to support both the old gen and the current gen, right? So I do think that they probably will be next gen or current gen only with Destiny 2. I'm not positive of that because they are leaving money on the table if they don't release an Xbox 360 and a PS3 version of Destiny 2, but I would definitely like to see that. As far as what I'd like to see included in Destiny 2, definitely I'd like to see custom matches for a competitive multiplayer kind of mode. I'd like to see real competitive multiplayer, and I think that's only going to happen if Bungie releases custom matches. I think that would be really fun to watch if like the MLG or some kind of big organization got into Destiny in a big way. I think that'd be really fun to watch. I think it'd be really fun to see people that we know as streamers now or YouTubers now compete in that. And I think it'd be just a really entertaining thing to see. Like the gameplay of Destiny is really fun to watch. So that's what I think that they're going to do. Is I think that there is going to be a new, custom matchmaking feature with Destiny 2. It might even come earlier than that. I also think that we're going to see a bump up in the graphical fidelity. I don't know if it'll be a bump in resolution or if they'll bump it up to 60 frames per second. I'd rather see the kind of current graphical settings that they have bumped up to 60 frames per second. I think that would be awesome. I don't know if they can do that. I know they can't do it if they got to develop for the 360 and the PS3, but that's what I would like to see. I'd like to see an increased emphasis on competitive multiplayer with the form of custom matchmaking, and I would like to see 60 frames per second. Those are the two big things I'd like to see. Ryan Emmer asks, boxers are brief, just kidding. What's your favorite game of all time so far? I'll be honest with you, Destiny is up there. I really like this game. I like how it melds multiplayer and single player together. I think before this, I would have answered Fallout 3 without a doubt. But right now, I'm currently playing Fallout 4, which isn't that much different from Fallout 3, to be honest with you. Fallout 3 was revolutionary when it came out. Fallout 4 feels like more Fallout 3 to me. So I kind of think I might say Fallout 3 for that answer. Next up, Mercury Colvin says, which do you prefer in the raid? What's your favorite team setup? And what do you like more, PvP or PvE? So I'm guessing you're talking about subclasses for which do you prefer in the raid. I really like being a Titan in the raid. I like the utility. I can be I could do the bubble. I could be a Sunbreaker to do DPS. I feel like I have the most amounts of utility for different situations as a Titan. I do really like the new Void subclass for Hunters because I can be a team player now with a Hunter, and Hunters are really fun to play because of that agility. But I think overall it's a Titan. I'd rather be a Titan than any other class in the raid. Next, what's your favorite team setup? I like teams that have a variety. I like a couple of Titans, a couple of Warlocks, and a couple of Hunters in there as well. If I had to select one class that the whole raid, everybody in the raid was going to be that class, I think that Titans would be pretty unstoppable, frankly. They have a lot of different abilities that can be used in a lot of different ways. I think they are pretty OP. Also the bubbles, man. They just make everything easier. And finally, what do you like more, PvP or PvE? It depends on when you ask. When raids are fresh and new, I'm all about PvE. And toward the end of a DLC cycle, like in that content drought, I'm just all over PvP. All right, Air Dump Truck says, still no helm? Actually, I got a funny story about this. I got 3 helmets in a row. I did the raid on all 3 characters last week and got a helmet for each of them in 3 successive raids. It was crazy after not getting any helmets whatsoever. Young Baller 360, are you going to do any more hardware reviews? They are my favorite videos. I am planning on doing more hardware reviews. The thing was that hardware kind of stopped coming out. All of the accessory manufacturers kind of dumped all their hardware right when the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 came out. I'm not a big PC gamer, so I don't really cover that stuff. So now I think we're starting to see a trickle of new stuff coming out for the new consoles after we saw a real drought of it after the launch of the new consoles. So I expect a review of the Astro A40 TRs very soon, as well as a couple of other things that I have in mind. But yeah, hardware reviews are definitely a thing. I really enjoy doing it. I'm kind of a nerd that way, so definitely coming soon again. Next up, Brandon Playmandon. Like the idea, how long have you known the Beastly Thoughts guys? I met Beastly first about 2 years ago. I think almost exactly 2 years ago. I bet the first episode of Beastly Thoughts is going to be right around the 2-year mark here. He had done the first episode of Beastly Thoughts on his own with a friend of his. I actually contacted him and said, hey, man, I really like the show. You know, can I be on it? You know, like, can I do an episode with you? We ended up hitting it off really well. We started doing the show together, and it's grown from there. I've met Not Too Nerdy, met Robbie, met all sorts of people. We've had a variety of people come and go through that show, and that's one of the things I'd like to do is kind of make. I'd like to have 4 people on that show, and I'd like them all to be very regular. But yeah, I mean, I've known those guys for about 2 years now, especially Beastly. All right, Andrew Delvecchio, this is our last questions. How do you edit a video? I use a Mac and I use Final Cut Pro, and it's a very easy system. I use an Elgato to record the video off of my PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, and then I import it into Final Cut Pro and use Final Cut Pro to edit it, to do all the voiceover work, basically to do everything with the video once it's recorded. So pretty easy to do, actually. Mac is super easy to work with, and Final Cut Pro is a great program. So that's going to do it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. Send in any questions that you'd like me to answer for the next episode, and I'll see you guys next time.